Give it a shot. Okay, wonderful. Fantastic. So with Module 3, you guys got very involved with this lawsuit, and you had an external party making an accusation against a corporation that they had been discriminatory. So I don't think it's our job to come up with a conclusion whether they're discriminatory. It's more of our job to work for the clients, i.e. the attorneys or the complainants, and to render some decision as to, well, is there an imbalance in the salary? Is there a certain group that receives favoritism in hiring one direction? If that's the case, then, here it is. And then for us to provide the statistics. I think the disappointment of adult life is the fact that statistics are appropriated. And you'll find that there are people who are looking to get hold of statistics and then use them for a political dimension. And in many ways, that is what is disappointing about adult life. You guys can do a beautiful piece of statistical analytical work, but you realize that your honest work in the hands of dishonest people can find questionable objectives. So my sense is be a gladiator. Keep fighting. Don't let it get you down. Don't quit. Don't be a quiet quitter. Survive the political dimension. Does that make sense? I think even if you were to look at the big dimensions between states, look at all of the mistruth that goes on as countries struggle with each other. It is possible for people to operate dishonestly. And if you suspect that and you understand that that's possible, it's possible for you to negotiate those conditions, to survive dishonest actors. Does that make sense? So your job is to persist. Your job is not to throw in the towel because adult life is complex. It is complex. And that does not create a pretext for you to give up. That doesn't give you a reason to give up. So going into Module 4, we have the second of 2 IT projects. I'd like to guide you through it. The subject of the project is IT infrastructure. So what you guys have done is make a nice analytic product. You guys have a ton of data at your disposal. What I like to do is put the data in the cloud and enable you to query it using a relational database. And so a more advanced professional practitioner would be doing exactly this. We're going to go ahead and use what's called an IT infrastructure. Can you guys say infrastructure? It's a multi-syllable word. Now, when we talk about infrastructure, we're really talking about a multifaceted series of IT assets. We're talking about a network so that your individual laptop, you could be on a very moderately powered laptop, say a Chromebook, a $200 Target Chromebook, my favorite punk rock laptop. You could be on a Target laptop accessing a cloud that would have thousands of servers. When you look at firms such as Netflix or various video game firms or Apple Siri, these are powered on Amazon Web Services. It's an IT firm that's created by Amazon. It's an IT infrastructure that is used by Amazon, but when you tap into AWS or Amazon Web Services, you're not actually using the exact same infrastructure that Amazon.com uses. You're using a copy of the infrastructure that Amazon.com uses. Amazon is now an elite IT company. And by offering a kind of a carbon copy of the infrastructure they've created over the years, you guys are now able to tap into an infrastructure of the same caliber that Amazon.com uses. So there's a huge kind of advertising value going forward using AWS. So you guys are going to be on AWS at some point today. We're going to get you your own personal cloud. And I think going forward, it'd be good for you guys to use this inside of a resume so that when you sit in an interview and you say that you're skilled with analytics, Microsoft Pivot Table, you can also say that you're skilled at using Amazon Web Services as an analytic infrastructure. Does that make sense? When you use these words, your resume ends up getting noticed. Does that make sense? Professional analysts need to use Amazon Web Services because there has to be an expandable, elastic boundary for your IT assets. It doesn't matter necessarily the computers that you guys buy. I keep trying to experiment with cheaper and cheaper and cheaper laptops. I like to get a cheaper local computing device because I like to buy more increasingly sophisticated server assets. So we're going to be getting you guys, we're going to demonstrate how to get you your own cloud today. So those words cloud and infrastructure are used interchangeably. The idea of it being a cloud does not mean that you're getting kind of I think the word cloud is a bad word for it. The cloud assumes that it's kind of made of air. It's actually made of lots of machines, of hundreds, thousands of computers that are tied together. So a cloud and a computing cloud are really quite the opposite. A cloud is an ephemeral device, or a cloud is an ephemeral thing. It drifts over the landscape. It dissolves. A little bit of heat from the earth can dissolve it. Clouds are very variable. We can't depend on them. They do what they want. Computing clouds do exactly what we want them to do. The only thing about computing clouds is that they can be expanded and contracted or made smaller based on your requirements. So if you were a Netflix, and Netflix uses Amazon Web Services the same way that you will in this assignment, Amazon actually has to expand the amount of resources needed as Netflix goes into different countries. So Amazon can go into any country Netflix can go into any country where Amazon Web Services is working. And you'll notice that Netflix has recently made the push to, I think, 80 countries. I think it keeps expanding. And you realize that each of these countries are well within the reach of Amazon Web Services. So if we, I think we'd probably say Amazon Web Services data centers, data center locations. Let's see, data center locations.com. Let's give that a try. Yeah, you can see that there's a real multitude. The Asia Pacific, these are the different Amazon availability zones. Europe, Middle East, Bahrain, London, Stockholm, North America. These are the ones that I know quite well. These are the core of the Amazon service. Central Canada is newer. GovCloud is in Virginia. US East is Virginia, US West. And then North California, that's one of the early availability zones. It's about twice the cost to use that. Ohio, and then Oregon. I've used them all. They all do the same thing. And so the idea is if I can create a computing infrastructure in a place, then I can locate my IT operations in any given country. So if you and I could create an interesting analytic application or infrastructure here in California, I think that we're going to be using either the Ohio or the US East 1 data center today. I'd like to use the Virginia. It's low cost. It's the cheapest one, and also it's near the largest North American crypto exchanges. So if you want to do high-frequency trading or algorithmic trading, Coinbase, for example, is also located on the US East 1 cloud. So, for example, if you want to have an algorithm that's automated, you would also go to the US East 1 cloud. So I think we'll go to US East 1 today and give that a look. Now, if you made something interesting on a US East 1 in Virginia, for example, there's nothing preventing you from making a copy of that infrastructure and staging it in South Korea. So if you had an interesting video game or an interesting e-commerce application, you could demonstrate it in Cape Town. You could build it, code it in Cape Town. What a lot of people do is they code things in South Asia, or they go to I think it's very popular for people to build something in, say, Vietnam or Thailand, where it's beautiful weather, the people are nice, the food is good, the rent is cheap. People can live there for months at a time building applications. And when they're finished, they can bring the application anywhere in the world they want to. So that's a good advantage of having these clouds is basically you call up the resources and it becomes delivered to you. It's quite different than the laptop that you own or the PC, that you've customized at home, where those things are as you have them. They cannot be shrunken. They cannot be expanded. They're a constant source of expense and resource. But what if your traffic was lower? Can you lower your IT overhead by asking for less? Yes. If your traffic is bursty or is expanding, then can you call for more resources? Yes, and you can actually instruct Amazon to algorithmically expand your resources as more traffic hits it. So if you take a look at the big unicorns, the big startups, the Ubers, trying to think of some, there's so many unicorns. If they are $1 billion startup from the last 10 years, they've used Amazon. It's just Amazon is at the core of the new startup economy. It's because Amazon solves many of the infrastructure problems that these little startups had. So if you take a look at everything from Airbnb to Groupon, each of these startups have used Amazon Web Services in order to bootstrap operations, become affordable. So at this point, it's not a question of whether the AWS cloud is the center of the IT economy. It's just a question of who is next. And I think the next big adopters are going to be the big corporations. The people who used to distrust the cloud, they're the ones who are coming on board. There's just too many evidence of successful deployments on the AWS cloud. So that is my, this week we would typically be studying IT infrastructure. And so there's a My IT Lab component for this week. But also we want to be demonstrating what is an infrastructure. And we want to give you a first-hand look at them, give you cloud computing skills, and then tie that in with your new and emerging analytic capability. All right, so that being said, so there's 2 assets that you need. I'm in Module 4, Activities MyLab. I'd like to post an image here for what's needed for MyLab. I see that's missing. That should get posted. But what you're going to do is you're going to follow this to get the guide, and you need to open the guide. The guide is going to include codes that you need to use, as well as a sequence of instruction. And then also you need this file right here. It's called melcsv.csv. Yes. Oh, okay. Let's get it fixed. So which page is locked? Is it the... inner? Okay, so let's go ahead and access the guide doc. And I sense that using this document it's important. It won't be enough to just have a video, or it won't be enough to follow me. You'll need to have the document on hand. Let's go ahead and open that up. It's just a Google Doc. Let's boost that. Okay. So, how long is this doc? It's pretty long. And I think the spirit, I've just opened up the outline to it. The spirit of it is to, if you want to do part of it, that'll be fine. I have the tendency to whip through it, to go quickly through it, because, I did write it. It doesn't surprise me that it's harder for students to read through it. It's easy for me to do something and write it up, but it's slower for students. We try to augment it with as many videos as possible, so these videos are going to work for you, as well as I think this lecture is being recorded. So, we want you to have as much support as possible. But I also think that we're going to do it in class. So there's not really an intention for you guys to do it outside of class. We want you to be able to do it right here with us. So let's go ahead and first things first, let's acquire an Amazon Web Services account, aws.amazon.com. That's at aws.amazon.com. And is my screen visible, or does it need to be expanded a bit? can be made a bit bigger. So let's go up to the top and go create an AWS. Give me the high sign when you're ready for me to go forward. All right, so let's go ahead and do create an AWS account at the top.
Use our school email or personal?
I like you guys using your school email because there may be special deals available for you guys. You're supposed to get the first year for free because you're going to be on what's called a free tier. And what I want to do is verify the email address. I may have an existing account. Let me try it out.
If I have an existing account, can I use that?
Yes. I've gone without it for a while. Okay. Now, it's easy for me I've been using it since 2008. So me getting an account on Amazon or recreating an account is a little different. And this is the one weakness I have is that, there we are. I've been using it a while. So ever since I've arrived here at Cal Poly, I've been demonstrating AWS to students. I think I've worked with thousands of students on getting AWS and using it. I'm a little bit of an AWS person. But, the difference is when you guys get a brand new AWS, it's different than if I already have it or I put it to sleep and I'm reactivating it. I had it sleep this summer. Oh, it looks like it wants an authentication code from me. Oh, it looks like it wants to send me an email. Okay, thank you. All right, so how'd it go? Did you get, tell me about the sign-up process. Now, believe me, I've been teaching AWS here for maybe since 2014, so I'm accustomed to the various questions. One of them is, do I need a credit card? And the answer is yes, and the reason why is identity. Second, are there going to be any charges on my credit card? The answer is no. Nothing that we're going to do is going to create any charges. So that's good to know because maybe, maybe you need to use somebody else's credit card at home. Now, I was hoping that, the AWS would be attached to your Amazon account. Many of you already have an Amazon account where there's maybe a debit card already associated. Now, if you need more time to discuss this with a parent or grandparent or somebody else, take the extra time. But you have my word, and I've worked with thousands of people on this, that there won't be any charges on that card based on your use. Does that make sense? It's a very valuable investment. So whatever you're doing, it's well worth it. The card is there to guarantee your identity so that other people can't use your account. And if you try to create a second account, it'll be hard because you need that identity verification. So, okay. So let's go into the management console once you've gotten to that point. And let's utilize the password that you supplied. And it'd be good to get it. Oops. No, that wasn't. Different account. Need to use the right email. Okay, let's save that. And so, very good. Good. So, how did it go? So I've got my account lined up, and some of the things you had to kind of surrender. You had to give them your name. You had to give them an email. You had to give them a credit card. All of those things are necessary. What do people say? Now, usually when you come to the console, they've redesigned the console, 10 different times, since Amazon went live, and they're going to keep trying to improve the user experience. Some core things that are happening here is it's giving you kind of an inventory of all the things that are happening in Amazon. These have been added over time. They do a great job with adding new services. What I like to do is I like to search for things. So I go Cloud9 is one of the key services that I use. And so we can go over to Cloud9. And Cloud9 is actually a place for you to write software and directly deploy it in the cloud. So maybe you go ahead and negotiate over to Cloud9. Challenging. It's a real deal. Now, the intention is not for it to be very difficult or very technical. It's meant for developers. It's meant for non-IT people to jump in there and start using it. Does that make sense?